We just created this CD together, and it encompasses kind of a long time. You wrote Fanatical Dances when? 91?
92? Yep.
And then Night Singing was created in 2001?
2004.
2004, okay, so well, time escapes me.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's quite a bit of time in between those two things. So if you look at Fanatical Dances, that one piece, and then you look at Night Singing over here, and then the improvisations that we created even later than that, do you see any shifts in your artistic concerns as you move through that period of time at all?
Well, every piece is different.
Yeah.
And some pieces have radically different starting points for me,
Mm-hmm.
conceptually, or you know, sometimes there are other considerations. If there's a commission involved, people involved
Mm-hmm.
that are good at certain things. Or Fanatical Dances was a piece I wrote while I was a graduate student at Harvard, and I wrote it for the California Year Unit,
Mm-hmm.
which was a group of a band, a great band based in Los Angeles who were very good at improvising.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote a piece that combined both composed and improvised elements. night singing, you know, is a very different kind of piece. Although, you know, my artistic concerns are, you know, they don't change radically. They just evolve a little bit, and you know, my approach, I think, gets a little bit clearer with every piece.
Right.
But night singing is a very different kind of piece. There's no improvising in night singing,
Right.
and it's a you know, very specific kind of a spiritual piece, really. So it has a much deeper place that it came from than Fanatical Dances, which was much more maybe cerebral, even though it's kind of crazy and improvisatory. It was easy to come up with, whereas night singing is like a 27-minute piece, and it took a lot out of me.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I remember.
It was, I just realized this time around when we were doing night singing, or sorry, Fanatical Dances, just looking at the score and listening to our recording, how clearly some of the structures were, at least for me. Like, it starts off with this big blast of percussion, everybody on percussion, and then you get this sort of, this crazy, beautiful, lyrical, like flute cadenza, and then these sort of two worlds, the percussive, the dancey, and the lyrical, just keep commingling all the time. And then I keep hearing then later on, it's like, well, you got lyrical stuff, but you got now the percussion is in the strings doing their bouncy bows, or it keeps coming back and returning. That the structure was very clear to me this time. I remember when we recorded it, we rehearsed and re-recorded it, but now it's like, wow, it's really quite elegant.
Yeah, those two elements really vibe against each other.
Yeah, very nicely, very nicely.
Well, it's interesting how, like, when you record something, it's such a different experience.
Yeah.
When you prepare it for performance, you hear it in a completely different kind of way.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm really grateful we have the opportunity to do both.
Yeah, yeah. I'm really excited to play the piece. I think it's fun. I think the group sounds good, and I think it's going to be
And we play night singing a lot.
Yeah.
Really, it's one of our favorite pieces.
Yeah.
And what I find so wonderful about the piece is, first of all, because it showcases Pat. Love listening to Pat play. But also the use of timbre.
Yes.
And the way that the instruments that I play and the instruments that Patty plays sometimes are used sparingly, but with great sense of purpose and a great understanding of what those timbres might be and how they might combine with other instruments. Like in the second movement, we do I'm playing steel drum, which is usually, it's a Caribbean instrument that evokes, well, not at all how you use it. I'm playing it very softly and with the piano, and it creates this beautiful shimmer. And I have no idea how you knew it would sound that way.
Well, you know, the steel drum sounds a little bit out of tune all the time.
It does.
And so if you pair that with the little clusters on the piano, then you have a kind of similarity, even though the tone is very different. But the pitch similarity is there.
It's like a little mirage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that blurriness.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I think we all agree that just orchestrationally, I mean, this is an odd group. I mean, one woodwind, two percussion, and piano is a strange, it's not your standard thing. And, you know, your piece, Night Singing, is one of the best pieces written for our group, and it seems to solve that problem or issue in such a unique and strong way.
Or it comes at it from
a very
very
different,
singular point of view.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the idea behind Night Singing, dealing with percussion, is kind of difficult anyway. But there are actually very few percussion instruments used in Night Singing. And the idea behind it was that all four movements would have the pitched mallet instruments, the vibraphone and marimba. And there would be that consistent path for those two instruments throughout the piece. And then each movement would then just have one additional instrument, percussion instrument, that would set it apart from the others, specifically timbrally. So the first movement, it's the triangle.
Right.
And the second movement is the steel drum, as you mentioned. The third movement is the prayer bells. And the fourth movement is the bass drum. And that's it. That's the only percussion instruments used in the whole piece. But each of those instruments that sets each movement apart, you know, is set very specifically in the piece, so it becomes a kind of, you know, a very clear, you know, timbral distinction. And of course, some of those just work really well with the instrument that you're playing at the time, specifically the bass drum with the bass clarinet,
Right.
The steel drum with the piano, as you mentioned.
Just from my point of view, it's a piece that it's very fun to play, but it really puts me through my paces. I mean, it's like every movement is a challenge, and it sort of calls upon everything I can do. I have to bring to this piece, whether it's the soft bass clarinet or the super high clarinet writing. The climax of the second movement, where I have that long high line, is definitely one of my favorite things in all of Zeitgeist repertoire to play. Especially, I hope I can manage it in this small room, but in a big hall where I can just let it rip.
Yeah.
I just love to play that. It's very rewarding to just scream out that. It's screechy, but yet really musical line. Yeah. Really.
partnering with us in creating this CD.
5-6 year project.
And all of these wonderful pieces that are such gems in our repertoire.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yep, it's been one of the best experiences for me, this project. So
great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're happy.